Do you know that on the 13th of December, 2022, the United Nations launched the International Decade of Indigenous Languages? Someone may ask, what is the International Decade of Indigenous Languages? You can remember that I told you in my last video that our discussions this year will focus on the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, among other things. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the period between 2022 and 2032 as the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, to draw the world's attention on the critical situation of many indigenous languages and to mobilize stakeholders and resources for their preservation, revitalization, and promotion. This International Decade wants to ensure indigenous people's rights to preserve, revitalize, and promote their languages, and to make sure that people understand the importance of linguistic diversity and multilingualism as part of the sustainable development efforts. The International Decade offers a unique opportunity for people to work together in developing policy that supports the preservation, revitalization, and promotion of indigenous languages around the world. How do we do this? By continuing to educate our communities about the need to preserve our indigenous sign languages or indigenous signing systems. By so doing, the linguistic rights of every deaf child will be preserved. Let us dive into linguistic rights a little bit. What are linguistic rights? Every human born on planet Earth has the fundamental rights to express himself or herself in their indigenous language or mother tongue. And any attempt by anyone, either the government or any other group, to take away that right is fundamentally wrong and unacceptable. This is why a multinational body such as UNESCO is spending a whole decade to launch a campaign for the promotion, revitalization, and the preservation of indigenous languages. Why is this campaign critical for the deaf children in indigenous or rural communities in Africa and America? The promotion and spread of American Sign Language, which in some deaf communities transposed to become Signed English, works against the linguistic rights of our deaf children and our deaf communities. There are no two ways about this. The confusion associated with this linguistic crisis is such that requires lots of education and awareness to disembark. This is why we have chosen not to keep quiet. And this is why we implore you to be informed and stay informed. Our message, our intervention is for the deaf individuals, but more importantly, to hearing people who work in the deaf communities, who promote foreign sign languages in the communities they work. In Nigeria, for instance, you can imagine that pupils and students are still being flogged in school for speaking their mother tongue. Anyway, let's take a pause here for today. Please send us your comments and questions, or if you want to join our interventions in your local community, write us at info@ezeli.org or on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can contact us on any one of these. LinkedIn. You can also join our Advocates for Indigenous African Sign Languages and be a member. All we need of you is to be an advocate. All we need of you is to help in the preservation of the indigenous signing systems of your local community. All right, I will see you next week. Don't go nowhere. Bye.